Today's guest on 10,000 Miles is Aja Barto. Aja's a super athlete. He started his career in baseball, being drafted by the Texas Rangers and playing in their AAA league. Moved on from there, found CrossFit, made it to the games, competed as a CrossFit Games athlete. From there, he opened Behemoth Gym in Cypress, Texas, and is now helping others achieve their goals. He's super fit, super flexible, a great father, a great family man, a great husband, and just a beautiful human being. He's so full of insights and stories from his experiences, good and bad. I really enjoyed talking to Aja. So let's dive in to Aja Barto. Aja, welcome to 10,000 Miles. My brother, how are you today?
I'm great, Vic. Thanks for having me on.
And super excited to have you on for a number of reasons. One, when we met years ago, gosh, it had to be 7-8 years ago now at a CrossFit event. You had kind of like superhuman strength back then. And I've only watched, super functional, super flexible. And I've watched you continue to train and develop yourself, and most importantly, work to help others over the years. So I was really attracted to have you come on. And you got a great backstory, and I want you to share it with folks. So thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
For sure. I appreciate being here.
Hey, I've got the benefit of, having met you personally, and also then having the social media interactions and a occasional nice note to one another, but really getting to see what you've been up to down there. And I'm a couple pages ahead in the book, though I don't know everything. Why don't you tell the audience who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, name Aja Barto. Most people that are probably listening to this or who would know me from my CrossFit history. But growing up, I played a lot of baseball. I actually played competitively through Division I in New Orleans, Tulane University. I played a few years minor league ball with good old Texas Rangers, and then I converted myself over to functional fitness and the sport of extreme exercising with CrossFit for about 3 to 5 years. So I competed at the games from 2011 to 2013. Took my hand in some Olympic weightlifting, did pretty well there, at least for what I was capable of doing. And during that time, I also opened a Behemoth Gym, which was a CrossFit facility in which gave me the opportunity to bestow what CrossFit did to me, other people in our community. So that was a really great opportunity. And through the years, I've become a father of 2 gorgeous children, the husband to my beautiful wife, Leah Barto, and we're going on our 13th year with Behemoth Gym now, that I've had the blessing to own and operate with my brother, Arian, to where we've evolved the model into what we feel is the most prestigious piece of what we're doing to date, which is more custom coaching, mentorship, and then building a team of professionals that are able to live a fulfilling life, helping people the same way that we have through the years.
And that's just an incredible mission. It's inspiring for sure. Hey, I want to go back. You started out as an athlete playing baseball. When did you start playing baseball?
I was actually a late starter, so we're deciding that now with our son. Our son's 5; he's already in coach's pitch. I don't think I started baseball until I was 10. I think my mom told me the other day that it was closer to 8 or 9, but I didn't get a start on anything until 10 years old. And right when I started playing ball, I was one of the bigger kids. I was more of the developed kid. I was pretty athletic. I had some good skill set. So right when I started dipping my toes in the water of youth baseball, kind of hit the ground running, jumped into select ball, and it was like year-round baseball from pretty much 10 years old until I stopped playing professionally. So
it's
over
a big
a decade
commitment.
plus. Yeah,
it's a big commitment for a young guy, and it's a big commitment for your family as well.
Exactly. Yes, that's something we're battling right now. Or at least not battling, just deciding. It's a lot of time taken away from family time in the afternoon and on the weekends to dedicate to a solo sport. And so There's a lot of conversing amongst our family on leaning into which sports are going to be best for which kiddo, and really savoring that time that we have now until things get pretty serious
Yeah.
down the road.
So, where did you grow up? What state?
Houston,
Oh,
Texas.
you were right in Houston.
Mhm.
Okay. So you're Texan true and true, through and through.
Amen.
Love it. That's perfect. So, obviously you played in high school. How was your high school career as far as
Yep.
baseball is concerned?
Uh, I would say that's probably the best era of my baseball
Okay.
time. My baseball career was high school. Played for a 5A school around here, which is one of the bigger schools in Texas. I think now they have
They're
6A.
6As, yeah.
Yeah, which is
I'm up in
crazy. So
South Lake. We're a 6A school.
probably plenty of 6As out there too, with how the
Oh, yeah,
population
there
is
are
growing. But
tons.
5A was the biggest school, so kind of cream of the crop there, and had a really prestigious high school career. I had all the awards, district MVPs, all states. I don't think I was ever an All American. It's arguable going back, but like kind of cream of the crop. Got drafted by the Phillies after my senior year. Decided to go to Tulane University on a full scholarship. Had my pick of universities where I wanted to go. So I had a really, really prestigious high school career that obviously the foundation was built before that, but had some great coaches that I played for. Got a lot of great development and mentorship through the coaches that I had worked with, not just high school ball, but summer ball as well. And that's really carved out the foundation of the person I am today, is my lineage and my tenure playing ball at an early age.
How to work. If you have a look back on baseball and things that you sort of translate into life?
Mhm.
I had another guy named Robert Clayton, or met Robert back in the day. He might not even be coming down to the CrossFit gym at that point. He actually owns it now.
Mhm.
But he and Robert come from a family of pretty high-performing athletes. He played football, went to UTEP on a full scholarship. His brother was there playing his last year, went to the NFL. Robert went and played arena ball for a little while. And, he's got a big family of athletes. They've all done some cool stuff. I think his dad played, at a high level in college as well. But, the stories that come from sports there's a reason why people love those movies,
Sure.
because of how it's inspiring. What did you learn along the way? And when do you have a recollection of sort of your first lessons that you learned through sports?
Yeah, and I don't think I learned it living it, but like looking back now, being almost 40 years old, and looking back
Mhm.
and reflecting on what I did when I was 10 years old and beyond, I can grasp and pull out the lessons that I learned. And I think two of the big things that I learned early on was like work ethic, like doing things that are hard. Even
Mhm.
though baseball is a sport, you enjoy it. It's like sometimes in the most unideal times, you'd rather be doing other things, maybe playing video games, hanging out with your friends, but you're on a 115-degree field,
Yeah.
standing in the outfield, right? Playing a sport where you could potentially be doing other things. And you're enduring that. Like when I played year in, year out, it was like every other day, maybe even every day I had a game. Obviously, you enjoy the sport and you enjoy those things, but it's not the path of least resistance. It's a choice you're making. And it's really leaning into the discomfort of, hey, I'm doing this versus doing other things, right? Building work ethic, being able to do things that your other buddies aren't doing, waking up
Yeah.
early on the weekend when you could be sleeping in and going to play a baseball game, right? Um, I mentioned the conditions, right? Most of your buddies are inside playing video games or doing whatever they're doing in an AC house. You're out on the
Yeah.
field with 115-degree weather, just kind of, knuckling down and doing the thing. So work ethic and just leaning into doing things that are hard, getting comfortable with doing things that are uncomfortable. Looking back now, that was a big lesson that I learned, and just really was part of participation that I didn't really
So,
think about in
so,
the moment.
so many quotes come to mind. Obviously, one of the ones I think people recall most is a Mike Tyson quote. You got to do the things you hate like you love them.
Mhm.
But I like the way you put it, like leaning into hard. And it reminds me at the end of this year, my nephew lived with me for a year, was playing golf on the golf team here in South Lake. And the golf coach was saying a nice goodbye at the final, what do you call that? The banquet. It was
Right.
sort of bidding adieu and well to the outgoing seniors. And he said, "Hey, the last thing I'm going to tell you here is, you may have you've learned a lot of things. Everybody's going to talk about your handicap coming down, and you're going to talk about, how you dialed in certain games and clubs and a PR that you had. He said, but the biggest lesson that I want you to leave here with, he said, is that life is hard.
Mhm.
Golf is hard. Life doesn't get easier. Golf doesn't get easier. You get better at hard. And man, I'm 60. I had just turned 60 shortly before that. I had never heard it put quite like that, but it dotted me between the eyes. And to hear you say it just reminds me of that. You get better at hard, and the better people get adapted to difficult times and they don't retreat and they learn the things that you got now that you can reflect that you're 40 and you're looking back, like you got prepared for hard.
Mhm.
And as we move along here and we get into, minor league baseball, where I'm sure now you're surrounded by lots of guys who are good at it, right?
Right. Right. Sure.
So that's a huge lesson. And the same happens in the business world too, Asia. When you're working for a bank or you're delivering a tough project for a client, it's never easy. It's always hard. And so what makes a difference is, how you dig into the hard work and you come out of it and you feel like you learn so much. You come out of it so much better, so much more confident and smarter.
Mhm.
Um, when you made it through high school and you started playing at Tulane, what was that experience like, going from you being like, a very awarded athlete, and now you're surrounded by probably a lot of guys that are awarded athletes?
Yeah. I mean, speaking of hard, my college career was probably one of the hardest periods of my life. Um, coming from feeling like you're on top of the world from high school, having all of the accolades and awards, laying the red carpet out for you, and then stepping into a university that was just coming off of a College World Series appearance. And those that don't know much about College World Series, that's like the top, I think it's 8 teams in the nation get to play in this tournament at the end of the year to decide who's the best collegiate team in the nation. And so stepping into a team that had all of these accolades coming from the previous year, it was there's a lot of expectations. And you know I didn't necessarily put a lot of pressure on myself, but it was just the relationships that I built initially with like my coaching staff when I had first started that were different than what I had experienced before. And it made it a challenging career for myself. So stepping into a realm where it's like, yeah, like you're potentially still one of the better athletes stepping into this Division
Yeah.
One university, but there are people that are a lot closer to your ability level. And I didn't really ever think for a second like, oh, this makes me nervous or uneasy that there are people that are closer to my ability level. I just kind of went out there and played. And I had like my first year there, little crazy story is my fall semester freshman year at Tulane was when Hurricane Katrina hit. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, we were just like, we didn't even attend Tulane in the fall semester. We were displaced to Texas Tech University. And I had a great semester out there. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful campuses on the world. They put us on a pass or fail scale, and they basically like gave us everything and anything we needed. So they took great care of us. But I had a
Wow.
great fall season there where we did inter squads and things of that sort. And I remember it like it was yesterday, but the conversation that I had with my coach exiting on my exit interview before fall break, we sat down and I think I was hitting off of a pitching staff that was coming straight off of the College World Series appearance, like a lot of returners. So a lot of really good arms. And during that fall season, I think I hit at least 400, which
Whoa.
anybody knows anything about baseball, that's really, really good. And
That's
so
huge.
I performed, right? And so I'm going into this meeting with my coach and expecting him to like pat me on the back and say, hey, we're looking forward to a great year. Like you did great, whatnot. And the only thing that I could remember that he said in that meeting was, you didn't hit enough home runs. So it wasn't like you did great, you did all of these things. It was like, this is the thing that you're not doing. And I think
Huh.
that was like the downfall of my, it put me into a mental spiral. So I went back for the fall holiday and all I could think about was like, how do I hit more home runs? How do I produce more power? And this is coming from a guy who's extremely powerful, who
Sure.
can hit tons of home runs, right? And I did in my previous career in high school. But all I could think about was like, what do I need to change in order to satisfy this individual and hit more home runs? And that was like the start of my mental spiral downhill within my collegiate career that really I never came out of that, right? Because once you start getting into your own head and into your own dome when it comes to a sport that's very, very mental like baseball,
Yeah.
it's really, really challenging to come out of that. But I'm very proud of myself for sticking with it for as long as I did. And I had, for what happened within that first fall semester, that fall season, for playing an additional 5, 6 years past that and doing what I did, like that was just on sheer willpower, mental resilience, and ability alone, And so I go
Yeah.
back and I think if I didn't have that experience, what could have happened from that? But then I'm also going back and I'm thankful for that experience because I think that was a foundational proponent of of where my mentality, my mindset is today, and what it likely helped me do within the functional fitness realm
Yeah.
too.
Hey, you know what? I want to dig into that for a little bit. Your situation right there is not unlike maybe hundreds that I've heard through the last 25 years. People are very competent at something. They have a boss, a coach, or somebody in their life that doesn't say, hey, you walk in, you're batting 400, and you be like, dude, you're killing it. Okay. You bat 400, you got a great arm, you got a great attitude to the team. You're doing all these amazing things. I want to turn you into the most powerful home run hitter the world has ever seen. So let's build off this amazing foundation that you've had or that you have, and I'm going to help you dial in the hall of fame skills, right?
Right, right,
But coaches and bosses, we're dealing with people.
right.
And we think that because they're in these positions, they're all equipped to know how to leverage these tools or to leverage mindset and to do all of these things. What is it, aside from the coach saying what I said, except for what you got, what is it you think you could have used at that time? Because my point is, not every coach or boss is perfect. You're going to get kicked between the legs when you come in thinking you're a champ, right? And you're going to get kicked. But then you spiraled. What could you have used at that time that you know now? What could you have used at that time? Because that's a hard, right? That's you getting too hard. What could you have used at that time to maybe been able to turn that into something at the moment versus what you've turned it into down the road?
You much more elegantly phrased that, and I wish I got a sliver of that when I sat down with my coach. But um, just the power of speaking up and speaking for yourself, and maybe asking some questions around that,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Because I'm taking him at his word, where it's like,
Mhm.
and I'm sure this was over a decade plus ago, to where I'm probably missing some pieces, but the pain point of that conversation was, you're not doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty confident that there wasn't many, hey, you're doing this well. And
Yeah.
so I think alone, if it's, I'm doing this well, but we can work on these things, I come away from that conversation much different. But I think asking some questions to him on like, what does that mean? What are things that I am doing well, so that when I go back for my fall break, I can work on these things, but I can still keep my saw sharp and do the things that I am doing well. And
Yeah.
so maybe creating some dialogue there versus just sitting there and taking it, and
That's
then
huge.
leaving with all of these presumptions and projections of, man, he meant this by this.
Yeah. Ask questions. It's funny that you mentioned that there could have been a lot more in the dialogue, but this is what you took out of it. And I've never shared this on the podcast. I'm going to tell you a little funny story about a little chubby kid growing up in Brooklyn. We played sports. I was part of the baseball league. I was part of the basketball team, and there was a church down the street, and there were church leagues, St. Brendan's of Brooklyn. And I had made it to what was called the Bantam team. And that was it was the first like tryout level. All the other leagues where you just signed up, you were on a team, they split it up, the red team, the green team, whatever. If you're on the Bantam team, it was a tryout league, and I made it. I wasn't really a basketball frame. I'm still not. but I was little, so not a lot of people were basketball frames. And we played a game against another church one day. And at the end of we're in the locker room at the end of the game. We won. We won, and the coach is going down, Asia, 10 points, Johnny, 8 points, blah, blah, goes down all the points. And he gets to me and he goes, Peppy, zip. That's all I remember. But you know what I did in that game? I had 22 rebounds.
Wow.
I had 22 rebounds. Right. So talk about like a role, right? Like if this guy would have been equipped to say, now it was the next practice that another dad was like an assistant coach, said, hey, I know the guy told you didn't score anything in the locker room. I felt real bad, but here's a statistic for you that you should really be proud of. You had 22 rebounds that game. He goes, the reason some of these other guys have points is because you did that.
Right.
But at the time, as an adult who might minorly be scarred by that, that's all I remember from that locker room conversation.
Yeah.
I have friends that tell same stories, but I like what you said. Ask questions.
Yeah.
When you have that feeling, don't retreat and don't ball up and don't go, I'm not worthy. This is not good. I'm not good enough. Like, ask questions. That's a great bit of feedback.
Right.
That's great. And this was at Tulane, right?
It was, yes.
So you made it out of Tulane and you made your way, you got recruited by the Phillies, you said, right?
I was drafted from the Phillies out of high school.
Oh, out of high school. Okay.
Yeah. So I signed to play with the Rangers after my junior year at Tulane.
Okay. How does that work? You come out of Tulane, you get drafted by, you get signed with the Rangers.
Right.
What are you doing? Where are you?
Yeah. So tail end of my career at Tulane. So typically the times that you can get drafted, or the most opportunistic times that you can get drafted, that are most beneficial to the kiddo, and I don't know if that's the same today, is either out of high school, or if you go to a Division I university, you have to wait till your junior year. So
Okay.
I actually had a really good, I should say I had a pretty good junior year, in the sense of really good in the Cape, right? I played in the Cape Cod League. That's where all of the most prestigious college players go. They go to this summer league. Sure, they've made movies about it. Cape Cod Summer League. I had a really good summer season out there. I was a Cape Cod League All-Star. So I was priming myself for a really good junior year, and junior year started out pretty solid. Had some injuries that kind of held me on back, but we get to the end of our junior year, and certainly like 5-tool guy coming off of an all right junior season, but a really good season in the Cape, where I'm hitting against the top guys within the country. I've got some pretty good draft stock potential, and I end up not getting drafted.
Okay.
And long story short, I hear some things about what my coach was talking to the scouts about that kind of circle back to me after the draft happens. I'm not going back to play for my coach my senior year. I don't care what they do or what they want to try to give me. I'm like, I'm out of here. So I signed with a local scout that I've known since high school, who happens to represent the Texas Rangers. I basically signed for a nice steak dinner and a plane trip out to Arizona. And so then I end up in Surprise, Arizona, in the rookie league as a free agent.
Family that lives there. Know exactly where that is. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I think when I was playing there in 2008 through 2008, 2009, it's like a relatively brand new city,
Yeah.
So solid experience out there. Met a lot of really good folks, built some really good relationships. But I started out in rookie ball. I had a really good rookie ball season, to the point where they invited me into instructionals. Instructionals is where like the top prospects within that organization come and get some additional work. Unfortunately, they hold those in Arizona. Because I was a free agent pick, they didn't really have a spot for me. So they offered me the opportunity to go to the Dominican Republic instructionals, and myself and one of my team members who played with the Rangers in Arizona both went out there. That was a really cool experience. So I spent about 2 months out in the Dominican, playing at the Texas Rangers compound instructional league, where we traveled around to different spots within the Dominican and played different ball clubs. So developed there, came back for my my spring training season the previous year, and it just never was the same after my freshman year. It was almost like I was hanging on by a thread mentally and physically, and just, hey, I'm giving this my best shot, but my heart's not in it, my mind's not in it, and I'm really just like performing off of fume, which is, I think, looking back, shows a lot about my athleticism and my ability. If I was able to do those types of things on just like fumes alone, imagine if my heart and my head was in it, what I could be doing. But no regret behind any of that. It is what it is. It happened and unfolded the way that it did. And I had a great, few year experience within minor league ball, learned a lot, saw a lot, created some really good relationships, some that I have to this day, and moved on from it.
Any guys you play with go to the big game?
Yeah, plenty. I mean, I have guys that are still playing to this day where it's like, I would have never thought this person would actually break the big club and then still be playing, 10 plus years later. And so
Amazing. Where do they play now?
I mean, tons of different names. I know a guy who was pitching the other day for the Twins. Buster Posey was a guy that I played against coming on up, had a like an acquaintance relationship with. He was a, Hall of Fame catcher who will eventually be a Hall of Fame catcher for the Giants. And so there's times where I'll see some people and some names where I'm like, oh, I played with this person. But my era, people are either on the tail end of their career or they're long and done.
Got it. Yeah, that's a cool experience, and it turns out that you got a lot from it.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. So when you start winding down your baseball career, how long is it before you start getting into functional fitness and CrossFit and things of like? Is there something in between that?
No, I actually got into that immediately. And the people that I built the best relationship with within the Rangers organization was the strength and conditioning staff, right? Because they saw my prowess, my athleticism. They saw what I would do in the weight room. I was always the first guy in there. I was the last guy to leave. And I just had this bond and this connection with these guys. So the strength and conditioning coordinator actually turned me on to CrossFit. Maybe my last year, or it was my second to last year. But he was like, hey, listen, I want you to check out this program. It's called CrossFit. This is when they still had the main page and they would just post the workout daily.
Yep.
And he's like, I think you'd really like it. Dive into it this off season. What you want to do is you want to go on the tabs on the left. You want to click on some of these workouts. They're all named by a girl, which is a little odd. Just click on one of the workouts and just give it a go and see what's up. And so I did that one off season, and I didn't really know how to do a lot of these movements, right? The first workout that I chose was Helen. And I had this set up at my folks' place where I had put like some 4x4s on the ground, had done some conduit pipes, created this jerry-rigged pull-up bar. I was like swinging a dumbbell, and then obviously had just a random force set on up. And by the end of that workout, I was like laying on my back, spewing up my pre-workout. And for somebody who likes discomfort, likes hard, you're immediately drawn to that. You're like, holy crap, that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and I want more of it, right? I had never tasted a workout or a training experience like that before, right? Even through my coming up through high school and college, like had never trained like that before. And there was something that drew me to it and something that I wanted to explore more of. So I just kept dabbling into some of the workouts. I can't really even remember what the additional workouts were that I did, but immediately was like, there's got to be somewhere I can go to do this. So I looked up the nearest gyms within my area and ended up at CrossFit West Houston, and went through my first like trial workout there. And show up at this class. There's a bunch of what looks like relatively fit people. Even though I'm scaling overhead squats, squatting to a ball, reducing certain things, I just like absolutely crush everybody in the class. And so the owner's like, man, there's like this kid's got something going. And this was in 2010. And so from there, I didn't go back and play in 2011. And it wasn't that I found the passion in this one thing where I was like, I'm going to pursue this. It was just, I was running on fumes. I was the tail end. When you're basically hanging on by a thread, attempting to play a 150 game season it's tough, right? Where it wears on you. So I called my minor league director, let him know I wasn't coming back, and then really just leaned into CrossFit and tried to utilize my education, or at least what I had from my education from Tulane, to kind of dive into real world stuff.
Awesome. So you begin your CrossFit journey. When was your first open?
So the open didn't start until 2011, right? In 2010, people that don't know I would consider myself an OG in the space.
Yeah, pre-open.
Both of us probably
Yeah.
OGs in the space.
Okay.
So 2010 is when I dove into CrossFit, and I had my first workout experience, and the owner of the gym was like, you should compete. I'm like, compete in what? He's like, you should compete in this. I'm like, what? Like, there's competitive exercising. He's like, yeah. Like, there's actually a sectionals competition coming up. And then from that, if you do well, you can go to this. And then they have this thing called the CrossFit Games. And my mind was blown. I was like, you can actually compete in exercising. Like, that sounds awesome. So I was able to slide in on a registration for sectionals. So before they had the open, they would have sectionals all across the states, maybe even the globe, right? Where
Right.
everybody from that area would come and compete. And then the top, 15 from this sectionals and the top 15 from this sectionals would go to a regionals level. And then from the regionals, they would take, 5 to 7 people to the games. So that essentially was what the open was for today. And so I competed at the sectionals competition, and still relative, like super raw, like just learned to muscle up, the week before. And
No, a week before.
I would even say,
That's greatness.
before sectionals, I don't even think I knew how to do a muscle up, right? And so
Wow.
never done handstand push-ups, like very, very new, going on athleticism alone. So I go out to this sectionals competition, and I know that I'm really good at like overhead squats. I don't know how I'm really good at overhead squats, but I'm really good at overhead squats and snatches. And so go out to this sectionals competition. They take the top 15. I think I finished like 8th or 12th, something like that. So I end up going to regionals. And so this is the crazy thing. Like regionals is when I had first learned a muscle up, like a week before. And so the way that the regionals worked back then is every region would create their own workouts. And so we ended up in Fort Worth out with Jeff Tucker, who's like the gymnastics coach, or was the gymnastics coach for CrossFit. And so the workouts in 2010 were very gymnastics heavy. And so being 6'5", 225, like really challenging for me to come out of that region, but also I'm extremely new and young. So I actually, going into the last day, was like in a slot to go to the games, but the last workout had 10 strict muscle ups, 20 strict handstand push-ups, where that's when they had like
all the kryptonite.
They had that 30-inch standard. So I'm basically like doing tricep extensions at 6'5". And so I don't really finish super well in that last workout. And I end up finishing 9th, I think. And they took maybe the top 5 or 7. I barely missed the CrossFit Games in my first year, having probably months of experience. And I was like, this was really fun. I've never been in an environment before that had this many like fit and attractive people. Like there's something behind this. And so I really just leaned into the opportunity of not even like, let me get really good for this sport, but like, let me just have fun with this. Let me see what can happen. Let me develop and see where this goes. And I started coaching. I started to gain this huge passion for it. And like, lo and behold, like 2011 was the start of, me competing at a high level. I ended up winning regionals that year. That was the first year they did the open. I think I finished first in my region in the open. I went to regionals. I finished first. I went to the games. Then it was like 2012, 2013. That's pretty much the history of my tenure within that sport.
What do your games records look like? How did you do at the games? Was Froning around back then?
He was, yeah. So that was Froning's era. 2010, I think, was his first. Sorry, 2011 was his first championship. Because I remember in 2010 watching the CrossFit Games on the live stream, right? The internet just like chopped up.
Yeah.
That was when he fell from the rope and, didn't know how to climb a rope. And that's ultimately why he lost. But anyways, 2011 was his era. And so I think the best finish I had was 20th, 21st.
That's still amazing.
I was more like, I would say right in front of middle of the pack. Because those years they would have 50 men out there. So I was like ahead of the pack. I had desires and intentions of wanting to win. I don't necessarily know if I ever thought that it was a possibility for like a guy that's 6'5", 215, 220 to beat guys that are 5'7", 165 in a sport that favors the smaller guy. Like, I don't know if I thought that it was ever a realistic possibility, but my intentions were always like, I want to make it to day 3. I want to do all of the workouts because they would always stop people. Right. And so I pretty much fulfilled on that goal at least 2 of the 3 years. The first year I went out there, was just like, hey, I want to meet as many of these OGs as possible, meeting the Jason Kleepas, the Mikos, the Chris Steelers. And then 2012, 13, when I was like, all right, like I really want to get through day 3.
And that happened.
Yeah, the last 2
Yeah,
years. Yeah,
last 2 years.
one of the years I don't think that they actually made cuts. They let all the guys compete through the end of the year, but definitely 2012 was one of the years where it was like you had to earn your way to the final day, and I did I got accomplished that.
What's the evolution of the gym? Where did you start out? What facility?
Yeah, so we have a crazy evolution. We started grassroots in a park, like most warehouse gyms, CrossFit warehouse gyms started around then. We weren't there for long until we got an opportunity from my pops to move into a sports training facility where we just revenue shared. So we would roll a couple cages back and do our training on the Astro turf. Eventually, we evolved onto half of their basketball court, and we wanted to grow. We didn't have a lot of opportunity for growth there, but I met a gentleman through an equipment company who gave us an opportunity to move into our own space, and he kind of let us just write it up. He was like, listen, I'm going to use this space for a showroom. However, I know you probably want to get out of the sports training facility and write up whatever you want and just pitch it our way. And so I went to my brother and my dad, who are kind of like my business advisors in that realm.
Yeah.
And we wrote up something that would be very positively kind of most positive towards us if we're doing all the work. Pitched to him. He said, let's rock and roll. And so we moved. We had intentions of not moving out of the sports training facility, but keeping both. But when
Okay.
we went to the gentleman that owned the sports training facility and told him that we wanted to grow, we wanted to add more classes, he kind of gave us a roadblock there, and it was like, all right, this is not meant to be. So we moved over to the space. Was like a 1,700 square foot awkward space. I mean, we opened before we even had electricity. We were soon knocking a wall down, doubling our space, and they eventually built a building across the way that we knew was our only opportunity for growth. Even though we weren't ready for it, we dove into it, and you just let us have as much space as we wanted. So that is the standing space that we have today. It's this 7,000 square foot facility, just kind of decked out in black and red gear, huge Behemoth logo on the wall, B Gym on the back. It's a really gorgeous space. So we've been in there since 2014. We kept our original space for like 2 or 3 years and never really did anything with it. So it ended up being a very expensive closet. And looking back, we have great regret behind that. But now we've evolved our current space into what it is today, where we do a lot of custom coaching, mentorship, private training. But then we also do have some small group training that we do as well.
Nice. So talk to me about how that differs from, do you consider yourself a CrossFit gym or are you something different now?
Yeah, we're different. We were
Okay.
CrossFit up until maybe 5 or 6 years ago. We de-affiliated. And nothing against CrossFit.
Yeah,
I
of
know
course.
they've had some bad raps as of recently with everything that's been going on since the COVID period. But CrossFit has done really well. It's served us excellently. I learned a lot and met a lot of great people and created some great relationships through CrossFit. We just got to a point where in our area we weren't really doing CrossFit. We were doing something that was unique to us. We weren't utilizing a lot of the CrossFit methodology as far as the movement index goes. So we started running into an issue where people were coming to us thinking we did one thing, but we didn't do that thing. So it just benefited us to be like, all right, we're going to detach ourselves from the brand. We're going to lean into the brand of Behemoth Gym that we've created in our area. And then we're just going to really focus on doing our own thing. And so we still very much do group fitness. It's more small group. Like we don't have 15, 20, 25 people in there. Like our sessions are likely closer to probably 3 to 10.
Okay.
And within those sessions, we have oftentimes people that are following a group template. But we also have some people in there that are following a custom program built by one of our professionals, facilitated by the coach on hand. So we have some really cool, unique things that are happening within our space. And we do a lot of private training, custom coaching, mentorship, which I would say is the bulk of the work that we do here today.
What are the outcomes most people want when they come knocking at your door?
I think that's easy. Changing my body composition, wanting to get stronger, wanting to get healthier, wanting to partake in a lifestyle that supports the person that I want to become or the things that I want to do, whether it's becoming a mother, becoming a better father, becoming a better sibling, employee, entrepreneur, playing with my kids. There's a lot of things there, but they all kind of come back into this identity thing where it's like, I don't like where I'm currently at and I want to change it. And I want this to help me do that. Or I think I want this to help me do that. And oftentimes we have conversations with people that come to us and they think we do something, but we do something completely different. And we're not afraid to be like, listen, if that's what you want and that's the thing that you believe is going to drive the outcome you want, I would go here or I would go here. And so we've created in the 13 years we've been in business, we have created a lot of really good relationships and built up our Rolodex of referrals and connections where if somebody's coming to us for CrossFit, we're going to be straight. We're not CrossFit. There's a great CrossFit gym here, or let me connect you with my friend over here at this fitness spot because that is going to serve you better for what you're looking for.
So you talk about mentorship. Tell me what you mean by that. How are you mentoring people? How do people come to you for mentorship? What do they expect to get out of it?
Mm-hmm. We got big into mentorship over the past probably 5 years. And I think before that, we were doing it, but we weren't advertising that we're doing it, or we weren't leaning into it the way that we are today. And when I look at mentorship is like walking the journey with somebody,
Sure.
right? When I think of like fitness, group fitness, boot camp, cross, whatever it is, it's like, this is the modality we're going to use. We're going to use fitness. And like, whether you do it or you don't do it, kind of on your own, right? When you're doing away from the gym to facilitate these goals, you're kind of on your own. With mentorship, it's let's look at the outcome you want and let's create this custom plan to helping you get there that involves exercise and training, but that's only one tool, not the only tool, right? We have sleep, diet, stress, we have mindset, we have mentality, we have relationships, we have connection, we have all of these things that help evolve this person into the identity of the person they want to be in order to accomplish the things that they want to accomplish. And what we believe in is like somebody will come to you and they'll tell you that they want a thing, but they actually want to become the person that they think can accomplish that thing. So it's less about I want to lose weight, and it's more about I want to become the person that could actually make that a reality. And I think that from our experience and what we do, mentorship is going to get that person there. Having a professional coach walk them along the journey on what that looks like for them versus saying, yeah, here's the tools to do it, go do it on your own. Or here's the tools
Really
to
interesting.
do it.
It's really interesting. So you're really you're unpacking the why. You're unpacking the
100%.
why in a big way. And I think that might be the first time I've ever had a conversation with anybody that sort of explained it the way you just did. Because I think it is true. A lot of people go and work out. Everybody says, I want to lose weight or I want better body composition or I want to, well, why? Is it going to, it's going to have is your confidence going to go up? Where are you going to utilize that confidence? Quality of relationship going to go up? Are you going to feel more attractive? Is your spouse or significant other going to find you more attractive? Are you maybe seeking to find somebody else in your life and you think maybe your confidence will boost? I mean, there are so many things that come into play, but the fact that you're really unpacking that, like the why, is a big deal, and I love it. What's the age range of people coming to Behemoth these days?
I would say 40 and up.
40 and up. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And that's pretty much our ideal avatar, and the people that we're after is we want to work with 40-year-olds and up, people that have families, people that have kids, busy professionals, entrepreneurs, people where it's like, I need and want this level of service and I need and want this level of value to be able to change where I'm currently at, to be able to get unstuck. And that's the population of people that we service, and we service really well. And it's not to say that we don't have some youthful folks sprinkled into our community, but who we're after the people that value what we're able to do.
Yeah. Where exactly is your gym?
It's in a suburb in Houston called Cypress.
Cypress. Yeah. Okay. That's good, man. I wish I lived down there. I'd be in the roster for sure, 100%. I'll tell you, Aja, my life has been peaks and valleys of fitness. And I have done some pretty crazy extreme things along the way. because I'm a extreme mindset guy. My wife will always tell you, oh, the Vic he never does anything halfway. It's like not even 3/4. It's not full. It's like 10x. If
Right.
he's going to do something, he jumps in. So, I was in the music business. I left. I got into sort of technology and then moved my way into corporate America. And sort of when you get busy in that world, and then especially as you have a bunch of young kids, I guess the excuse you'd always say is I didn't make time, and it's the reasons. Maybe it is the excuse. The truth is you got to always find the time. You got to do it. So I went from periods of being 40 to 50 pounds outside of my prime, pardon me, to right in the center spot, in the sweet spot. At 53, I hit my PRs in weightlifting, which is pretty incredible. I had a 350-pound single rep bench. I had a 405-pound squat. I had a 425-pound deadlift. And I had a 202-pound strict press.
Wow.
Standing strict press. Not bad for a 53-year-old guy.
That's a stat line, man.
Right? And so I kept moving, and my son was much younger at the time, 7 years younger. He's 19. We've got great videos of us both being all ripped up, working out together. My personality, we got a key to the gym. We'd go in there at night. I mean, we had a lot of benefits and luxuries the regular membership didn't have, because we gave back to the community as well.
Of course.
In things. We always contributed. With there, lend a hand, fixing gear, doing maintenance, organizing the gym. Like, we treated it like we owned it. We were part of the community. But I have an audience that's wide. If you look at my stats on YouTube, it's probably 27 to 64, with the lion's share of people being right in your sweet spot. I could tell you that as a 60-year-old guy, I follow a lot of podcasts. I listen to podcasts. I'm an avid consumer of information. One of the guys I listen to is Dr. Peter Attia. I'm not sure if you know who he is. I'm sure you do. And, he went from longevity to more of a quality of life, and he talks about this marginal decade. I'm in a spot now where I'm really needing to really refocus on moving out my marginal decade. I can't bench press 350 anymore. I had a different body shape and size. I was in a lot of pain. I haven't lifted heavy in a very long time. My VO2 max is not where it needs to be. If you were going to give a little counseling and mentorship to a person who's just turned the corner in their mid-50s, heading into 60s, who's gone through peaks and valleys in fitness, has all the understanding of why it's a benefit to you, and I know deep down inside exactly how it's going to improve every other area of my life. What is it that you would say to people, to stress the importance of doing this, so you don't race into 70 and 80 hunched over with your nose on the ground, not being able to move? Like, how do you push out that marginal decade?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, those are things that we deal with all of the clients that we work with today. And ultimately, what we're speaking on this marginal decade is just increasing our longevity, right? Maximizing, like you had mentioned, the quality of our life as long as we can do that. What we have to realize is that's a long way away. And so we have to get married to the process. We have to understand that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And like all of the stats that you had listed, like I have my own stats too. Mm-hmm. We have to understand that when we are benching that, squatting that, or we're at our peak physical capacity, that's a very expensive life to live. In the sense of, to maintain that, it requires blood, sweat, and tears, and sometimes pain, like you had mentioned.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes we have to let go of that past, and we have to understand, what do we truly want? And if what we truly want is a long time from here, we have to simplify things. And we have to simplify things in the sense of, what are the foundational things that we know are going to afford us that marginal decade, or afford us the highest quality of life over the course of time. And then doing those extremely simple things as incessantly consistent, and allowing time to compound those things over and over and over. And they're things that we already know. It's move our body, and it doesn't matter if it's CrossFit, if it's strength training, if it's Pilates. We know that resistance training is extremely beneficial for a host of different reasons.
Yeah.
Not just for the era we live in, but the research is showing us that. So people, I strongly believe, should absolutely be lifting weights. Now, what does that look like? Does it look like 4 time? Does it look like steady state strength training? Does it look like, weights on a bike? I think that it should be something along those lines, and it should be enough to change our body and tax our structures. We know that our cardiovascular health is important. So we need to be mindful of our VO2 max for our fitness. So we kind of need to get uncomfortable. We can't just expect to walk all day long and allow that to maximize our marginal decade, right? That last period of our life, or at least to elongate the quality of our life today, right? And even simpler, I dove a little bit more detailed into movement alone, but even simpler is like sleep wise, like we need to rest and we need to focus on our recovery. We need to sleep
What do
as
you
we can sleep.
recommend for sleep, people? Like, is there an optimal amount?
8 hours
Were
of
you-
sleep, going to
Okay.
bed at the same time, waking at the same time, building
Yeah.
a good sleep consistency routine, and having a routine at night that affords you to get quality rest. Like
Yeah.
we shouldn't be tossing and turning when we're sleeping. And there's
Yeah.
obviously solutions there, but the more that you can allow your body to get into bed at the same time, wake at the same time, fall with the sun, rise with the sun, and like get as close to 8 hours as possible. We live in a country that's sleep deprived, and
Big time.
we live by the mantra of early bird gets the worm. So that's
I
really
was on that list, but I
Yeah.
am no longer on that list.
Good for you. Good for you. And
I'll tell you what changed my life. Is I'm a CPAP guy,
Mhm,
and so I was in CPAP denial for many, many years. Right when I met you too,
mhm.
and so I had the worst sleep patterns. And I went for there's a place out here in Dallas called the Cooper Clinic.
Okay.
And when you work for a company, if you're on a leadership team, most people get a perk of, hey, we're going to send you to the Cooper Clinic for a full day work. Every test you get known to man happens from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Mhm.
Echocardiogram, stress test, I mean, every test you could possibly imagine. You go through a series, there's a break for lunch, all in the afternoon. I mean, dude, not to overshare, they're checking for moles and growths and places on your body that maybe, you want to save for the significant other to look for them.
Right, right.
If you can't see them yourself, but I mean, they are going to send the earth and they're like, hey, and at the end you meet with the general doctor and they go through all of the results. And one of the questions about sleep and this and that and the other thing. And they said, you've got a lot of inflammation. What's your sleep like? So it's horrible. So I sleep 2 hours a month. We're going to send you for a sleep study. No, I've been down that path. I had a panic attack in the middle of it. There's no way I'm doing that. That's a whole other podcast and a whole other story. It's more of a comedy skit than anything else. They said, no, you don't have to go to that same study. We're going to send you home with this device that you put on your head. Oh, look at that. I didn't know that.
Never seen
did
that one.
Yeah, I made a little heart, I guess. Thought I did a heart.
There you
Look
go.
at that. Have you seen this one?
No, I haven't.
I started doing all these things pretty crazy. But anyway, so I went home with the thing on my head. It's like a little nasal cannula. You're in there, you wake up, you send the thing back to their office, they plug it in and they go, I didn't even get a call from the doctor, Aja. I got a call from the equipment company. Said, Mr. Pepe, where should we send you this equipment? I was like, whoa. Yeah, you were having like 40 some odd events an hour
Good.
where you're not breathing. So, and at the time, I was even lighter than I am now because it wasn't weight induced.
Mhm.
So I start sleeping with the machine. They gave me these nose pillows, and my wife used to put her hand on my chest and kind of shake me, like when I was snoring, because I would keep her up all night. And so the first night I used it, I had like 2 or 3 hours. It was a little uncomfortable. Second night, maybe 4 or 5 hours. Third night, I'm laying there. I'm like, I'm completely out. And I feel his hand on my chest go. I get startled. I wake up. I go, what's going on? I go, was I snoring? She goes, you were so quiet. I thought you were dead. So as I got comfortable with this thing, one night I slept 13 hours.
Right.
No medically induced, just like the body going, dude, like I need to catch up.
Yeah.
And I trained myself to sleep on my back. And my wife's a late owl, night owl. I'm an early guy, but I'm trying to get into bed at the same time every night. And I'm probably getting my 8. I don't think there's a day that I get less than 7.5. And on a rare occasion, if I miss a little something, my sleep is disrupted by something.
Right.
Next night could be 10.
Mm-hmm.
But the quality of my life has gone like through the roof. The mental clarity, the focus, the energy I have during the day.
Sure.
My back pain went away. I used to wake up with pain in my Achilles, no longer. I used to wake up with headaches that were this big, gone.
Right.
Sleep is so, so important. I want to transition to diet, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Right. So resistance training, VO2 max, movement, keep moving, sleep. We talked about that. We didn't talk about diets and foods. And the reason I want to bring this up is because there's so much information going on about what to eat, what not to eat. I've become a little believer in some of the conspiracy theories about some of the, we certainly know the food pyramid is a piece of garbage.
Right.
So, I hope that's not controversial for you. I
No,
believe it's not,
absolutely not.
but I've been on paleo, and I'm going to save telling you what I've been doing for the last year, but I want to hear, what your thoughts and philosophies are on nutrition.
Yeah. All of the mass information that's being pushed by society and from the higher ups is the opposite direction we want to go. And if there's any sort of evidence behind that, just look at the state of crisis that our country's in, right? And that's all coming from the top. And so I think people need to figure out what works for them and follow different advice. My advice that I give to my clients and the nutritional principles that have worked well for myself, my clients, and my family is cook most, if not all, of your meals. That gives you absolute control of what you're putting into your body. Eat single ingredient foods, right? So I want to eat apples and broccoli and steaks and chicken and fish and eggs and things like that versus eating ultra processed, Franken ingredient foods. We live in a world where they're starting to create, and I shouldn't say starting, but there's plenty of really great packaged products out there. And if you're buying packaged products, minimize it. But if you are buying them, read ingredient lists and make sure that the ingredient lists are made of single ingredient foods. Yeah. And they don't have tons of things that you can't pronounce or you don't really understand that are. And really stay away from a lot of the big name brands out there that are pushing, this is heart healthy, this is fat free, this is sugar free, right? Move away from reading the labels and try to cook.
Marketing.
Yeah.
That's marketing.
Try to eat single ingredient foods, cook most of your foods. And if you're doing this in conjunction with moving your body consistently, sleeping well, connecting with people and managing stress, you're going to return to homeostasis. Mm-hmm. You're going to get to a point where you look, feel, and function optimally, but it's not going to happen overnight. And it might not even happen over the course of the next year. But you have to simplify it and you have to allow time to compound those simple actions and behaviors that you're taking. Yeah. Because you will get there. And once you do get there, it becomes easier to maintain that. And now we're starting to talk about maximizing the quality of your life by doing the simple things, but doing them ridiculously consistently.
Yeah, that was amazing. So I told you I was going to unveil what I've been doing for last year.
Let's hear it.
So last June, I've been doing a lot of research. I've done the paleo stuff. I've done a lot of different things, even some silly stuff like, counting calories from a Weight Watcher scale and things like that during the course of my life. But I started having a lot of inflammation. And I started doing a lot of research on how to reduce that inflammation. And last February, not the February past, but the one before that, I started following a lot of carnivores. And Dr. Anthony Shafee, a number of other people out there that I feel come from the right clinical background. So it's not just somebody who decided to eat meat for 10 years and they look gaunt and they might not look right, but like studied people, and I'm watching the results. Then I'm hearing the stories of reduced inflammation, depression being reduced. So in June of 2023, on the 26th to be exact, I woke up and said, I'm going carnivore. And so I did that for a period of 1 year, complete 1 year. And I was trying to manage a little family happiness in there too. So I made some exceptions. I didn't want, if I was out socially and people were having a cocktail, I'm not a huge drinker. I would have one. If it were somebody's birthday and they brought in a birthday cake, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to have a very small piece of birthday cake. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not going to let my head explode from it. But in the year, I lost 30 pounds and my visceral fat went down by like 10 notches, according to the InBody scale. My muscle mass while losing 30 pounds went up 2 pounds. So I lost zero. Who loses 30 pounds and loses zero muscle? That's very difficult to do. Okay. So now I'm in a big, controversial debate with a friend and my wife and these other things. I'm basically beef, bacon, butter, eggs, and I've introduced fruit and berries. And so they don't make me, when I eat other foods, I feel horrible. So here's the other thing too. You ever go to the dentist and they hit you with that little gauge and they go 2, 1, 3, they're looking for gum recession?
Right.
My gums were horrible, dude. Okay. So in June, before I started carnivore in 2023, I went, he's like, oh, we got to watch this one. Yeah, it's a little more receded. Your gums don't look so great. My oral hygiene is maniacal. 2 times a day, floss almost every day, water pick, very, very, very conscious of it. Rinse, the whole 9 yards. And I get professional dental cleanings every quarter, 4 times a year. That's a lot, right? So like I'm committed to keeping the choppers in place as long as they'll stay. I went back after 3 months of being on carnivore, and he's looking around. He goes, "Oh, let me have measuring." He's like, "What's going on?" You're like, "What are you doing to your dental hygiene?" And I said, "Same routines." He goes, "Your gums are like 60% healed from where they were." When I went back the subsequent 3 months later, he's like, your gum recession is gone. The inflammation in your mouth is completely gone. And I know there's something called confirmation bias. What that is essentially is whatever you believe, you can find somebody to confirm what you believe. So I got a lot of respect for you. You've been living a healthy, conditioned life for a very long time. What are your thoughts on that type of style of living and eating? And what does your research or information say about it?
Anytime I hear, I mean, these specific diets, whether it's carnivore, whether it's paleo, whether it's keto, whatever it is, my biggest question is always, well, what are we coming from? Right? Because even a vegan diet can deliver that level of results for somebody that's coming from something that's much, much worse, right? If somebody just switches to a vegan cleanse and they're coming from eating nothing but processed packaged and food out, you're going to see drastic results from shifting back to single ingredient foods. But the biggest takeaway here is it worked, and it is working very good for you. So if that is working for you and you are seeing the positive effects from making these changes in your life, then lean into that. My thought on something like these diets with that do involve some level of restriction is sustainability. Like, don't just look at the now. Don't even look at the next 6 months. Look at the next 6 years. Is this something that you can maintain long term? And if there's any sort of hesitancy there, it's not the best diet for the person, right?
Thing is, I don't even feel like it's a diet. It's just how I eat. I look forward to it. I'm never hungry. I mix the meats. So I'm not eating ribeyes 7 nights a week. I might have a ribeye 1 night a week.
Sure.
My middle staple is a strip steak. My wife made a giant beef tenderloin, very lean. I've interspersed that. We've always got cooked chicken breast on hand. So I'm not 100% beef. I'm probably 80% beef.
Right.
But I'm getting results, and I'm having a lot of heated debate about it.
Right.
Because like I said, somebody will send me a video, go, carnivore is bad, your cholesterol is going to be 500, you're going to be dead. Then I'll send them a recap of the Framingham study, which will show how, big sugar companies, big cereal companies, big processed food companies put a put a stick in the spokes or put their thumb on the scale.
Mhm.
And hey, cereals are great for you. Sugar cereals are great for you.
Right. Right.
So it's hard to get information, and we live in a world of such disinformation
Mhm.
that's driven by money.
Yeah.
I mean, follow the money. You want to get to the truth, or you want to get to why somebody's saying it, or you want to get to why somebody's saying it, just follow the path. Is somebody going to profit from that? I'm not a cynical guy. If you know anything about me, this even feels shitty saying, right? But the older I get and the more informed I get, the more I realize I need a lot more information than a single source to drive where I'm heading in my life.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, I guess the better, more appropriate word is nutritional approach than
Yeah.
diet. Right. I like
Okay.
that. I like that word better.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, man. It's like we live in a times where it's hard to even trust research
Yeah.
because well,
It's
how is
funded.
who is this funded by and how is this
Yeah.
swayed? So I think the most powerful information, which is what you've demonstrated here, is what is my anecdotal evidence? And
Yep.
is it working for me? Is it driving the result that I want? Yes, cool. Stay the course.
Yeah.
If it's not, figure something else out. But when we look at carnivore, like all you're doing the nutritional principles that we know help return us back to homeostasis, which is like
Hmm.
eating real whole food sources, single ingredient foods, and like you're eating a crap ton of protein, which is
Yeah.
the like quintessential macronutrient that people need and are completely under eating and deficient in. And of course, you're going
100%.
to gain muscle mass by not really changing, is all you're eating is protein,
Totally.
right? Not to mention that red meat is extremely nutrient dense, minerals, vitamins, to do things like replenish your gum health
Yeah.
and reduce inflammation. And, I think that the only hold up and drawback that I have with carnivore would be it's a challenging approach to follow when there's restriction.
Yeah.
Right. When you're like, I can't have these or I don't want to eat these, depending on the person, maybe it works well for you. When
Yeah,
there's
I'm a mental
restriction, it
case,
becomes a
Asia.
little bit
I'm a
more
complete
challenging.
mental case. Like, if you told me I had to eat peas and carrots for the rest of my life because that was going to be good for me, I wouldn't miss a thing. I'd
Sounds
eat peas and
miserable.
carrots.
Sounds
You know?
miserable. Hope you never get
Yeah.
that advice.
Yeah, no, I never got that advice. But like I said, I find my spots. And, in the month of July, we pretty much went away for the whole month, visit family and whatnot. I took some liberties really to sort of make my wife feel like I was enjoying myself.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like complete crap.
Right.
Slice of pizza, some frozen yogurt. Like, my body was rejecting those things. I love a mean steak. And as my youngest daughter says, what are you having tonight, Dad? A slab of beef? So, but hey, man, we've gone around the block here today, and it was really, really great to get your perspective. Let's go back to hear about sort of, dealing with the hard, coming through adversity, rediscovering yourself and finding where you're putting passion in. And most importantly, where you are now, which is I really love this last half hour, how you're geared in on really helping people. Right? I know it's a business. I know everybody's got to eat. I get it. But you are a guy who is completely dialed in on helping people. If you're down in Houston listening to this, or in Cyprus, I should say, you got to reach out to my guy Asia here, because he's going to get you on the straight and narrow, and he's going to give you great advice, and he walks the walk. Have him do, what's the thing you do with the cross-legged pistol where the leg goes way behind you? You're up on a box.
Yeah.
What's that called?
The dragon squat.
It's ridiculous.
I haven't attained it yet, but I'm on my way. Only
Oh,
maybe a few more years.
I know. I thought I saw you do it on a
I'm-
video.
It's not the full attainment of the movement, but
Okay.
I've been on this journey since my daughter was born almost 4 years ago. But it's just incremental progress every single month, every single year.
Wow.
And I'm giving it a few more years to get to full attainment, but I've made a lot of progress.
When you do the dragon squat and you obtain it, let me know. I'm going to send you the Bruce Lee Return of the Dragon yellow suit with the black stripes, and you got to record yourself doing that thing in the
100%.
Bruce Lee jumpsuit.
Deal.
That would be awesome.
Deal.
Hey, man, really, really amazing time. Thanks so much for your time today.
I enjoyed it.
The best of luck to you in the future. And yeah, I'd like to have you back in
Would love
6
to come
months.
back.
So we pick up some topics and jump
Sure.
in.
Thanks, Vic. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.